The desert highway was silent under the burning sun when a battered pickup truck pulled into an empty rest stop. A U.S. Marine, uniform torn and eyes clouded with pain, stumbled out, scanning the horizon. He knew he was being hunted. With trembling hands, he scratched a faint mark beneath a wooden bench, a hidden signal only the trained would recognize. Minutes later, a black SUV appeared. Voices shouted, and then silence. The truck sat abandoned. Hours later, 3 German shepherds from a nearby K9 unit passed by with their handler. Suddenly, they froze, ears up, tails stiff, barking toward that same bench. Their instincts screamed that someone was in trouble. What they uncovered next would shock the entire nation. Before we start, make sure to hit like, share, and subscribe. And really, I'm curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country name in the comments. I love seeing how far our stories travel. The wind howled across the empty Nevada rest stop, whipping dust over the cracked asphalt. The sun had long dipped below the horizon, leaving only the dim glow of flickering streetlights. A lone U.S. Marine, Sergeant Daniel Cross, stepped out of his pickup truck, his uniform dusty, his breathing heavy. His eyes darted toward the highway. Headlights glimmered in the distance, closing in. He didn't have much time. Daniel crouched beside a worn wooden bench, slipping a folded piece of cloth beneath it. On the cloth, in faint ink, were numbers, coordinates, his last known location. His fingers trembled as he whispered, "If anyone finds this, tell them I didn't run." A roar of an engine shattered the silence. A black SUV pulled in fast. 2 men stepped out, their movements sharp and trained. Daniel's heart pounded. He reached for his sidearm, but it was too late. One of the men swung the butt of his rifle, and darkness swallowed him. Hours later, under the same pale moon, a K9 officer named Mark Hayes stopped for a brief rest. His 3 German shepherds, Rex, Shadow, and Bolt, leapt out for a stretch. But within moments, their ears shot up. All 3 turned toward the same bench, tails stiff, noses twitching. Something wasn't right. Officer Mark Hayes frowned as his 3 German shepherds, Rex, Shadow, and Bolt, began circling the old wooden bench. Their noses pressed against the ground, tails stiff, ears locked forward. They weren't just curious. They were alert. "Hey, what is it, boys?" he murmured, kneeling beside them. Rex let out a low, uneasy growl and pawed at the dirt beneath the bench. The other 2 joined in, barking sharply. Something was buried. Mark brushed the sand aside and froze. Faint military boot prints, half erased by wind and dust. Then he saw it. A dark stain on the concrete. Faint but unmistakable. Blood. Bolt sniffed farther under the bench and began scratching furiously until a small metallic glint caught the light. Mark reached in and pulled out a dog tag, engraved and worn smooth by time. The name read, Sergeant Daniel Cross, USMC. Mark's pulse quickened. Cross, he whispered. That name matched a missing Marine report from last week. The dogs didn't stop. They paced in circles, whining and tugging toward the forest edge, their instincts screaming danger. Mark grabbed his radio. "Dispatch, this is Unit 47. I think we found something serious at the old rest stop. And you're not gonna believe how." Within minutes, the rest stop was surrounded by flashing lights and curious onlookers held behind yellow tape. Detective Lauren Pierce arrived, skeptical as ever. "A few paw prints and a dog tag don't make a case, officer," she muttered. But Mark wasn't convinced. His K9S had never been wrong. Rex suddenly lifted his head, ears twitching toward the tree line. Without hesitation, he bolted forward, dragging Mark with him. "Rex, wait," Mark called, stumbling as the other 2 shepherds followed. They plunged into the dense forest, the air thick with pine and tension. 100 yards in, Rex stopped abruptly and began barking at a thorny bush. Mark pushed through and froze. Tangled in the branches was a torn piece of camouflage fabric, smeared with blood and dust. Lauren caught up, her eyes narrowing. "That's military issue." Mark nodded grimly. He didn't just leave that behind. He was taken. They followed the trail deeper, where Rex's nose caught something else. A faint trail of oil and deep tire tracks leading away. Kneeling beside them, Mark traced the pattern with his fingers. Off-road truck. Heavy-duty tires. Not local. The dogs' ears perked again, their bodies tense. The trail didn't end here. Somewhere beyond the woods, the truth and Sergeant Cross were still waiting to be found. The rescue operation began before dawn. The air was cold and still, the forest shrouded in mist. Officer Mark Hayes walked ahead with Rex, while the other 2 German shepherds fanned out beside him, noses low and alert. The trail was faint but steady, mud prints, snapped twigs, and a faint metallic smell of oil guiding their way. "Stay close," Mark warned his team as they moved deeper into the woods. Every step echoed with tension. Then, without warning, Rex stiffened. His ears shot up, and he bolted forward, barking furiously. Mark followed, crashing through the brush until they reached an old service cabin. Its door half broken, the windows dark. "Hold position," Mark shouted, flashlight trembling in his grip. He approached slowly, hearing only the wind, until a faint tapping came from inside. "Quiet," he whispered. The team froze. Tap, 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 then silence. Mark's eyes widened. It wasn't random. "That's Morse code." Heart racing, he pushed the door open. The dogs darted inside, barking near a loose floorboard. Mark knelt, pried it open, and there, bruised but alive, was Sergeant Daniel Cross. Weakly signaling with a flashlight, the Marine's cracked voice rasped. "Took you long enough, boys." Rex barked once, loud and sharp, as if to say, "We never stopped looking." Sergeant Cross blinked weakly as the light from the flashlights flooded the small cabin. His face was pale, his lips cracked, and his hands still trembled from exhaustion. "Easy, Marine," Mark said gently, lowering himself beside him. "You're safe now." Cross gave a faint smile. "Didn't think anyone would find me. Definitely not 3 four-legged heroes." He glanced at Rex, Shadow, and Bolt, who stood watchfully by the door, tails low but eyes full of fire. Rex moved closer, pressing his head against the Marine's arm. Mark called for medics, and within minutes, the forest echoed with the sound of helicopters. "We've got him. Repeat, target located, alive." Mark shouted into the radio. "AS medics treated Cross's injuries," he whispered. "They took me when I tried to stop a weapons deal. I hid the signal under that bench hoping someone would see. Didn't know it'd be dogs." Mark chuckled softly. "They don't miss much." As the stretcher was lifted into the helicopter, Cross reached for Rex's collar, gripping it weakly. "You 3, saved my life." Rex barked once, standing tall as the helicopter lifted off. Mark looked up through the trees, murmuring, "They don't just serve, Sergeant. They protect their own." In that moment, everyone watching knew they had just witnessed a miracle of loyalty and instinct. A week later, sunlight poured over the K-9 training facility as the gates opened to a waiting crowd. Officers, reporters, and veterans stood in silence as Sergeant Daniel Cross, now bandaged but walking proudly, stepped forward. Flanked by Rex, Shadow, and Bolt, the 3 German shepherds trotted beside him like guardians. Their heads high, tails wagging softly, Cross knelt, running a hand through Rex's fur. "You didn't just find me," he said quietly. "You gave me back my life." Officer Mark Hayes smiled. "Guess Marines and shepherds have one thing in common. They never leave a man behind." The crowd chuckled warmly. Cross reached into his pocket and pulled out his dog tag, worn and scratched from years of service. He looked at the K-9 memorial wall nearby, etched with the names of fallen service dogs, and placed it gently between 2 plaques. "You 3 deserve this more than I ever did." Rex barked once, the sound echoing proudly through the courtyard. As the camera panned out, the American flag fluttered behind them, sunlight glinting off the dog tag. The narrator's voice faded in. When others couldn't see the signal, 3 hearts did. They followed not orders, but instinct, and proved that courage doesn't always walk on 2 legs. The scene ended with Rex looking up, eyes bright, as if saluting the Marine he'd saved.